Well, we had a pretty effing intense episode, and there was also effing intense. This episode is based around the way innies and outies have a relationship and what counts between those around them and those within, because it's not any particular character's episode this time. It really is everyone gets their innie and outie relationship tested in some way, I guess.
I suppose for Milchick, he doesn't have an innie outie, so it's just him.
It's corporate him versus his real him.
Yeah, we never see any outside people for him.
We've never seen him not at work.
Yeah.
Every time we see him, even middle of the night, he be working. My wife audibly went, "Aww," when he opened the mirror.
Yeah, it is. We all love him, right?
Yes.
It's the whole joke of even the bad characters are 10 out of 10, best character ever.
In season 1, they didn't really do anything to make us feel for him. He was just a guy.
He was just a sexy, sexy man.
Creepy man. Creepy, sexy man.
Oh, yeah, creepy.
So this is a creepy, sexy episode as well.
We have a very small scene with Milchick and Miss Huang. It's always nice seeing that dynamic again to see if there's more. I don't know if it still feels the same to me. I can't tell if this is just meant to be finally seeing what probably Milchick went through with Miss Cobell. I assume Miss Cobell probably treated him like that. Is it just meant to be the cycle of power? I'm not sure.
To me, she still really comes across as a petulant child. Sorry, I can't use a big word like petulant. Like a bratty child.
She acting silly.
Because she's a kid. And everyone's like, oh, she's a severed adult. Oh, blah, blah, blah. No, I think she really is just a kid who was a crossing guard. She knows how to do first aid. So it seems like she's very motherly, very managerial, even from a young age.
Although she's doing first aid, but she's got someone with a nosebleed tilting the head back. Everyone knows you tilt your head forwards.
You cannot graduate from this fellowship until I have deemed you wintertide material.
It sounded like it was an internship she's doing, and if she wants to graduate from the wintertide, or if she wants to graduate with wintertide.
Maybe it's their Scientology tier.
Yeah, she definitely seems like a go-getter, she's a Dwight. She feels the most like Dwight of anyone. Milchick season 1 wasn't a Dwight, but definitely Huang is a Dwight. She thinks she should be in charge and that she knows best. He tells her to abandon childish folly, and she definitely seems put in her place.
She accepts it.
She shows the most emotion, really, we've seen her show. She knows she did something to get him in trouble.
Yeah, and we've already seen him sort of mildly, punch back at stuff that she's, stepped out of line for.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they're, is there going to be a bigger thing with her? Is she going to, because we're seeing a small build-up maybe of her emotional responses.
The great thing at the end of that scene is Milchick.
Self-break rooms?
Yeah, he accepts that all the things that were said about him are correct, because I guess LUMON is king.
Yeah,
it's definitely, he is actually using too many big words. They wouldn't have said this if it wasn't true. So yeah, he goes and break rooms himself, which involves hundreds of paper clips to the point of Harry Potter, I must not tell lies.
Yeah,
scoring that into his own flesh.
Yeah.
And then he has a little secret mirror. It's his little Oscar mirror where he can win an Oscar, because Jesus Christ, man.
It's probably just him for his moustache. He's just trimming it every morning.
It's just powerhouse acting. I don't know whether they're doing him faltering or whether he's always been like this and it's just the extra pressure.
We're just seeing more of him.
Yeah. I've seen people say, oh, it's his first turn to help MDR, but I think it's more just a commentary on how you have to change in corporate life.
Yeah, you have to lose yourself.
Yes.
Yeah,
well, you
absolutely.
have to lose your humanity, basically.
Yeah, your soul, anything that makes you different. A lot of people on the last video
said that the innies were goats.
No, said that they don't understand how we've ever come to this conclusion about there being a clear racial undertone to Seth's storyline. And obviously there is the whole discussion of code switching. Is that the term?
Yes.
I don't know if we're meant to think that that's his original way of speaking and he's always spoken super duper eloquently and he has to lose that, or if it maybe is just meant to be this corporate soullessness and everyone else is reading too far into race.
If it's not intentional, a lot of people are seeing it because it was the most liked comment. So
yeah, and having Natalie be the other person that he shares those moments with feels purposeful because I think she's the only other noticeable person of color other than Dylan, right?
As a non-Seven employee, yeah. Because we have Felicia and stuff as well on the floor.
True.
But Seven employees are already considered non-human.
Yeah.
Whether it's completely based on race or whether it's more just a bunch of people that LUMON view as not as good as them.
Non-bloodline, I guess. Non-Egan.
Yeah, maybe but it seems too big to dismiss, to be honest. Second relationship we get tested is Helly and herself, Helena and Helly, and we get to touch on body autonomy. So this episode is a big
emotional, I guess, points for characters. Yeah.
And it's good because none of it feels forced because everyone is doing different things. Milchick's doing corporate, non-corporate. Helly's got body autonomy. Dylan's got infidelity. Mark Semi also has infidelity as well, but to a different degree of like, what is the self? And then we've got more with the dinner we'll go into.
Yeah.
But also, it's just good to see Helly back being the snarky bitch.
Did everyone sever their balls in the elevator this morning?
Like, again, never cruel,
Yeah.
but a snarky bitch.
I don't know. This is the thing. And I'm going to
Do you
sound...
think, are you going to say it's fucking Helena?
This is going to sound so dumb and crazy. And it probably is just the fact that it's already happened once. I am so suspicious of her.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
And because I so viscerally hate Helena,
Fool me once.
literally that's in my notes. Like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. You can't fool me twice.
Fuck Helena.
Yeah. Because of the sex. But anyway.
Does that mean you're on the board of she's really trying to get pregnant?
It could be. Like, maybe that's infecting my brain too much. But and that's not a main thing I believe in. I don't believe that her main plot line is to get pregnant because that would be so cheap, maybe.
It'd be too chosen one.
Yeah.
Well, to reinforce your theory, even though you're trying to talk yourself out of it.
Thank you.
The Chinese restaurant Zufu.
Yeah.
Zufu means grandfather, but the zoo is blanked out, so it just says Fu, which means father.
Funny. Funny that.
Maybe.
Funny that.
It also means wealth and a bunch of other shit. Words mean a lot of things. It's like you
I
can
know.
find stuff.
We know that everything has meaning.
But also sometimes, as
The
you said
curtains
last
are
week,
blue.
the curtains are blue.
Yeah.
But yeah, so your theory's not crazy.
Yeah. This was the first time, like, watching the episode, I let the recap play.
But it's also really interesting to see what they think you need to remember.
Yes.
It can give you clues of like, oh, if they focused in on this little interaction, you're like, okay, that meant more than we thought it did.
And watching some of the moments where it was meant to be Helly again and she was so deep voiced, I was like, did they mix that up? Like, am I going crazy? Now I'm like, I don't know. I don't want it to be Helena again.
Yeah.
But that would be such...
It would be very funny if she
know.
learnt from her mistakes. The whole reason they did it not so obviously, they did a very good job of it. But if they knew that half the people would figure it out the first time, they're like, fuck you, we'll just do it again.
We're just going to do it again. You're
Like,
never going to
literally
know.
fool us
She'll
once.
be better.
Helena at the Chinese restaurant acts a lot more like Helly.
Yes.
Not sure if that's just her using Innie knowledge because she knows that Mark's a snarky prick.
Yeah.
If she can play off that, maybe she's had more training.
I don't know if I was taking that more of her just also wanting that relationship, wanting that closeness.
Yeah, and also your severed person isn't not you. They're just you unburdened.
Yeah.
So she has the potential to be
That person.
Yeah.
For sure. That's the other thing that's also mixing me up. But one final thing about Helly / Helena,
just in case.
the sly
Cover yourself so I can
bastard.
play it later.
Yeah. The whole like bodily autonomy stuff, like finding out that it wasn't her that slept with Mark. And we have this scene where she's like really upset. Great. I was like, oh, we're following her. So it must be just actually Helly. Because why would we be alone with her if she was trying to be upset?
Yeah.
But she doesn't cry. Not one moment. It seems like she's struggling to cry and forcibly trying to make herself cry.
But it also depends on how she views it, I guess, because she views them as separate people, right? Because she fucking hates Helena.
Yeah.
Because Helena's a monster in her eyes and she goes into it. She's like, fuck this guy. Like,
Yeah.
she hates her. So if she also thinks that they're the same person and that Mark slept with her and she removes her own body autonomy, then that's also saying that she's more like Helena than she would like to admit.
Right.
It could be that. Again, it could be. Or she's Helena. It's not just Mark got to sleep with your twin, realistically, because if they are completely separate people,
Yeah.
like she wants to believe, it's, oh, he's seen me naked and he knows exactly what that'd be like because we're identical.
Yeah.
But it wasn't me. Whereas obviously
Yeah.
it's a lot grayer than that. Like, there's no good answer. It's a very interesting thing that they're able to touch on. That's, again, what the whole episode is. It's just the relationship of Severance.
And she tried to rationalize it well with saying that you wanted to sleep with me and I wanted that in return. It just wasn't the right me.
It's also a nice moment, which is the strange thing. When he starts going into, I had those feelings before the OTC.
That hurt my soul. I wanted to cry. I cried and Helly still didn't cry. Interesting that.
Mark does his best to try to comfort her and say, should I explain it to you? It's not the right move exactly, but it's also not the wrong move because
No.
if you did something drunk at a party and someone tells you, like, you want to know, you can make up worse things in your head.
Yeah,
like, you
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
what could be worse, so he's doing whatever he can.
Just asking
He's a
what he
good
can do to
guy.
help. Yeah.
And she's like, no, I want to make my own memories. And we're like, oh, we banging again.
And I hated it. Stephen was lucky because he wasn't here this time. He was going to have to deal with me being like, no, screaming at the TV again, scratching.
Reverse the ring. You're like crawling into the TV
Let
to
me
to strangle her.
Let me at her.
Stop it! But they make a romantic tent.
No,
In a
it's
giant
yuck.
window
Hey,
room.
let's go into this. Not dark enough. Still, anyone could walk past and see. Let's smother ourselves in plastic. If we breathe too hard, this whole thing's coming down. Like,
That scene did make me think it was definitely Helly though, because they took more time with it. They made it more romantic. Okay, not romantic for you, but they took a lot more time with it.
No, they did.
They weren't cutting to Irv fucking having nightmares in the forest in the middle of it.
Yeah, no,
so it was
that's
definitely
true.
that's what makes me think more Helly. Again,
That
it would be very funny if it's Helena.
It just for me was so. I don't know, dude. Like, how horny do you have to be down there that you're like?
She's never had
want
sex.
to fuck? Yes, please fuck.
She's never
Walk
had
to-
sex.
I know.
He's
I
had
spat
sex
everywhere,
once.
so-
He's a horny teenage boy.
But like, it's just so clinical the way they do it that I'm like, I never want these people to ever have a happy life.
They're at the office in a sterile place with the awkwardness of one of them
Yeah.
has had sex with the other one, which is insane.
I guess they were too desperate.
She was also doing it as partly like,
Taking control.
yeah, taking back her autonomy for one. So it's more of a power move.
I know, like, from my understanding of a lot of victims of like loss, especially in like younger people, I think there's a common pattern of behavior where afterwards they end up being super promiscuous
Yes.
to take control of something that they lost control of. So
Yeah.
I don't know if there might be people out there that interpret it that way of like, that's why it's not maybe, it's a little bit lovey, but it's still not the most romantic and nice.
Yes, they're not playing
because-
Careless Whisper.
No, which tragedy. If you're not willing to play Careless Whisper, don't get your pants off. Because yeah, it seems like it is more of she's made the choice. I'm going to do this thing now. Let's do it. And it's not necessarily on her feeling of naturally wanting it in that moment with him.
Yes, yeah,
It's
you
out of
can
spite.
definitely see that when she's in the hallway and she like gets up and she's like, all right, like I have a plan.
Me want snoo. Like dragging
Drags
him.
him.
Yeah.
Is it okay if we try the hug again? I kind of like the hugging.
Going from seeing the banging to maybe not seeing the banging, did Dylan get any? Did Dylan get more than kiss?
Oh, I didn't even think about it going further. You pervert.
That's all I ever think about.
There's a non-zero chance that the two of you had unprotected sex.
No, I didn't think so. Talk me through it. What kind of sex do you think they had?
No idea. Dylan is having his conjugal visit, which isn't normally meant to be a conjugal visit,
Yeah.
but in this case, definitely is.
Yeah.
His wife is kind of talking him through his Outie. We get a lot more into his Outie and how he's never really nailed down anything.
Loser.
He's not a loser. He just can't figure out what he wants to do with his life.
Yeah, fair. He's midlife crisis.
Yes, so Dylan has never nailed down his thing.
Or his wife, clearly.
Oh, he just hasn't figured out his thing and he's directionless, and we can only assume early or younger Dylan was a bit more cool. It's the whole like the old you would have done it. Like he was a bit more driven when they were younger maybe.
Yeah.
Thinking back to how your partner was at the start of your relationship, you're like she's getting her honeymoon phase back again.
Yeah.
She's able to date the younger man
Greedy
that isn't the
bitch.
younger man that is.
Yeah.
Like it's him, and you can see her grapple with that. I think like 3 or 4 times when he's just like, I think we should hang out more. And she's like, I would like that. But then she's like, wait, no, I do see you every day. I'm going to go home to see you again.
Yeah, she does sort of have that moment of backpedaling in her brain of, oh, what am I doing right now?
And then she gives in because they have a little cuddle and maybe more because Miss Huang's too busy
That's
to
how
watch.
you get pregnant, right? You cuddle.
Yes.
You have one hug, that's it. It's
I have
over.
proof.
Drugs, not hugs. And then when we see her again with Outie Dylan, and he's like casually, oh yeah, how'd it go again? I keep forgetting to ask. She decides to lie about it and say that they canceled the meeting. So I feel like that's definitely setting up for her permanently being like, oh no, we're not doing them anymore. They said it wasn't working. And she's just going to keep going without him knowing.
Yeah, full on affair mode with himself.
Insane.
Spicy. Dylan, when he's talking to Helly and stuff, he's not really willing to go on his mission. We thought he would be a lot more driven after
Yeah.
finding the note.
He's a corporate baddie now.
Yeah, he's really fond of Gretchen and his little visits and does not want to fuck that up.
Oh yeah.
It seems like she's a dispatcher, by the way. There's an award on her wall that says Dispatcher of the Month.
Oh.
So yes, she's an EMT dispatcher probably because it's got like a medical symbol. There was a lot of talk of her being like a Lumen employee because Lumen's in everything. That's the main conspiracy, that literally everyone works for Lumen. But I don't think she does because he says you went back to Lumen. You wouldn't say you went to Lumen where you work as a security guard and then also saw me. But there is talk of maybe she was the dispatcher that somehow dealt with Mark's wife because...
And that's why Dylan's connected into it?
Yeah, like maybe they're all connected somehow or another. Who knows about that? We have no information as far as that goes. That's all just speculation. We don't get too much from them. It really is just Dylan isn't keen enough yet.
Dylan in love is trash. He's not getting back into it.
He's not as funny.
He has to serve Mark and only Mark.
That's the thing, is like, will his wife, or will he realize that he's becoming stagnant and lazy? He's not doing everything he should.
Yeah.
Because he's scared of losing his wife, or maybe he's just like decision paralysis.
Yeah,
so he's just not sure what to do.
Just doing nothing instead.
Yeah, and maybe he'll come to realize, oh, I'm becoming too much like my Outie. I gotta go on a secret mission.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Maybe.
You saying how Dylan is the purposeless, don't know what to do.
Yep.
It feels like all MDR clearly represent different types of people that get targeted by religions.
Yes.
Like you've got grief, you've got homosexuality, like the queer community, which is such a big hot topic of, hey, and we bring that up to this episode with Bert and Irv and their conversation about everything.
I definitely prefer that theory to each of them represent one of the 4 tempers, yeah.
Yeah.
That to me is always very vague, and then half the ones I see they're like, oh, they've become this other temper this time. And I'm like, well, if you have to move them around that often.
Switchboard.
Yeah.
Like the OTC, but it's just which temper they'll be that day.
Lumen is very culty, and this is people that get targeted by a cult.
Yeah.
Irving and the whole homosexuality thing could, like, yes, but also if he's like corporate espionage with that whole theory, then that's another reason for him to, as in,
Be
like,
there.
he has a reason that isn't just like,
isn't like he's not buying into it.
Yes, it does come up, homosexuality, with Bert at the sexy dinner that is the most tense thing in the whole thing. John Noble is fucking fantastic. I love him in everything.
I don't think I've ever seen that man in my life.
You need to watch Fringe, for one. He is an expert at playing 2 things simultaneously.
Right.
So in the TV show Fringe, fantastic show, please watch it. He's basically an evil scientist from the 60s that was working on MK Ultra stuff, but now he has very heavy dementia because he was doing so much LSD his whole life. So he's basically like a man baby, a beautiful human being, like he's the sweetest thing ever, but he did horrible things in his past.
Oh, okay, right.
And he's just so good at going from like pure goodness, beautiful baby, to touch that and I'll murder you, like a horrible person, like I committed atrocities, don't talk to me. And he's kind of playing not a dissimilar character in this.
Yeah, in Preacher, Hitler.
Because I'm fucking Hitler!
This scene brings up a lot of questions. One, why are they so goddamn rich?
Everyone's just so filthy rich.
Well, like 2 people, Rickon and these guys.
2 people in this thing are so filthy rich.
It's strange because obviously Rickon, they're leading us to believe that his books are made him rich, like he somehow sold millions of copies. But it seems like Fields and Bert are rich because Bert's been working at Lumon for 20 years, which comes up at this very sus dinner. Like they've got like expensive artwork. The whole place is huge.
They never have the big light on. That's a rich household.
So he comes over for ham, and we get the namesake of the episode, which is Attila, because it's a play on the fact that they used to call each other Hun. I don't know if it means anything beyond the fact that it's what couples do, where like you'll come up with a pet name.
They've clearly been together for a long, long time. That's the point of it.
Me and my friends say oysters to each other, which it's a series of words that ended up being one thing. And the episode being named Attila is making people put a lot of weight on it. Like Attila was like a conqueror, or Tilla can also mean wolf, so then they're thinking he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't think we needed a pun, or like we didn't need a word reference for us to think that Bert is more than he seems.
They just didn't want them calling each other babe.
That, but also like it's something couples do, and pointing out the fact that Attila is the moment in the episode where Fields says, I remember when we actually came up with Attila because it was 20 years ago when you were with your LUMON partner.
It's just the setup for it. Yeah.
Yes,
right.
I think it's just to focus you in. It's not extra words. Unless Dan Erickson is an insane person. Like the writer, he could be, from a writing perspective, putting that much crap in kind of clouds it. Like it could be a fun nod, I guess, but it doesn't really mean anything apart from the fact that that's what you're supposed to focus on. You're supposed to focus on the 20 years ago, and then later on he backpedals and says, oh, he gets cloudy, he gets foggy.
Yeah.
It's actually only 12 years.
But it's planting the seed, for sure.
We know that Bert must have done something naughty because he thinks he belongs in hell. And not just because he's in a gay relationship, because they're very heavily religious. I think it's interesting that Kia doesn't penetrate outside of...
Choice of words.
Kia doesn't penetrate outside of LUMON as much as everyone makes out it to be. Like, it's not really a religion outside of Lumen.
Yeah, it's
Because we're talking about Jesus
anything.
Christ. Jesus is real. He's been around a lot longer than Lumen. Egan might view himself as a god or like have aspirations of that. But Jesus Christ is still the real superstar.
It's wow. It's probably meant to be like, what if this was just the next, like, the Mormon? What if Mormon didn't exist and
It's
this
literally
is it?
Mormonism. I've seen an actual Mormon watch it, and he's like, Milchick is just it's an elder. This is Mormonism,
Yeah.
my guys. It's very culty, like we talked about earlier. But I do believe that Bert has actually been at Lumen for 20 years, so he's
Yeah.
pre-Severance. Maybe he did something that he regrets. Well, obviously he regrets something because he thinks he's going to hell. I don't know why Fields thinks he's all holy. Like, Fields thinks he is going to heaven.
Yeah.
But I guess most Christians do think they're going to heaven unless they've done something actually bad. So Fields to me comes across as like a big Christian that is obviously hiding some stuff about Bert. But he's not like, I don't think he's like an evil mastermind or anything. But I think Bert definitely worked on something in Lumen that he regrets.
Yeah.
And wants to redeem himself, basically.
Right, so he was working with Lumen a while before he was severed.
He's been working at Lumen severed for 7 years in O&D.
Yeah.
Severance has existed for 12 years.
Yeah.
But also Fields says 20 years, which is
Yeah.
well before.
Yeah.
So that's 8 years before. So like maybe he worked on the development.
Fields says that they like kind of were hearing about the Lumen Innie Severance stuff from church. They didn't hear about it. It's not like he heard about it from work, which surely they would target the workers first.
You're right. But I would think that maybe he left work after whatever incident. So he worked at Lumen 20
Fair,
years
okay,
ago.
that would make sense.
Did something he definitely isn't proud of. Thinks he's going to hell for it. Left. Met Fields at church maybe. And then this is his chance at redemption, was to get severed.
That'd be weird though, wouldn't it? To be like having such a negative, obviously this is just a hypothetical, but to your hypothetical, if he had done something bad at work and had a really horrible experience with it, to then be told in church, but you could still go to heaven if you come back for that company that you really hated and you did something bad at.
He might not hate the company itself. He might
Maybe
hate
did
what
something
he
else.
did.
Is it just he just serially adulterer?
Yes.
That's all it is.
Like, it just seems like if it wasn't Lumen related, he wouldn't lie about working at Lumen 20 years ago. And obviously he was forefronted on Irving's map for a reason. Maybe it's because he just lives nearby and he's easy. It definitely feels like that's what they want us to focus in on. Not the word Attila, just the fact that Attila was mentioned 20 years ago while working with his... Also, Lumen partner, which is also a weird thing to say.
Lumen
you were with your
partner.
Lumen... we were having drinks with your Lumen partner. Like, not Lumen co-worker, Lumen partner. So that's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
But it's
Interesting
just
choice.
a really tense dinner. Fields wants to know if they had sex. Obviously, they wouldn't know, but he still feels like he has to ask.
Yeah.
But also, because he's so religious and his pastor told him that innies are a separate entity,
Yeah.
he's like, well, they should be able to experience love. And he's been going to confession,
Except they're not innies anymore. Technically, they're permanent outies.
but they
so-
have an innie. Like, the innie is locked away in there
Is he
somewhere.
going to ask for special permission to flick it over? Like,
I don't think he's hoping for that in the future. But then we also get a little awkward scene where, as Irving's leaving, it's just a great scene in general, but
Yeah,
as
it is, it
Irving's
really is.
leaving, he says we should do it again, and Bert's like, with me or with Fields and me? And he's like,
either.
and then he leaves and he walks past the footpath that you would definitely kick those lights. Did you notice that?
I looked at I was like, is this meant to be symbolic of something? Why is there
like-
3? Why are they so
Oh,
particularly...
they just looked like that I would walk into them all the time because they're not like upright, they're upright out.
They're just weird lights.
Yeah, I just hurt my shins
Looks
on
cool,
them
but
constantly.
they're weird, yeah.
That's
Tripping
half
hazard.
the show.
Workplace health and safety. Because it was such a sexy scene, the eye contact between Bert and Irv, that whole dinner scene, I was like, take your clothes off.
But they're also playing each other potentially because it's intercut with Drummond going and finding all of Irving's stuff. Irving's chest was under the bed and hidden away in like a false bottom and stuff. So he found it relatively quickly
Well...
or had plenty of time to look.
So I guess it gives us the biggest question of, is it Bert, is it Fields? Which one? Because
Right.
it was Fields' idea for the dinner, wasn't it?
Actually, I don't remember. But I feel like it would have to be Bert because Fields to me just does seem like a religious partner. He is in the next 4 episodes. Fields is in every episode upcoming.
Fields seems like the top, if you ask me. And I think he's going to be the one telling him what to do.
We don't know why Bert's doing what Bert's doing, but Bert obviously retired, and I believe that he didn't super want to retire. So them forcing him out. Again, why they forced him out but not Irv? Maybe it's just because Mark's little group was more important.
Well, that makes me think that maybe it is Fields that's running stuff because maybe he caught wind somehow because he has this inside link to be like, he's at it again.
John Noble does have the potential to be an insanely good, like, bad guy. He definitely isn't the dentist guy from last episode.
No.
Because he has no
Different
hair
hair.
back here, unless he's putting a toupee on just for the severed floor. But he seemed very religious, and like the whole I've been talking with the pastor.
Linguini, what do I do?
There is no pasta.
Drummond knew he had time to like have a look around.
Yeah.
So it's got to be one of them, because if he was just watching the house and you see a guy leave, I guess he has a bottle of wine, so you can assume that he's gone for a while.
It's too convenient.
It seems less connections if it's one of them being like, hey, Drummond, go break in.
The one night Irv decides to go out, he's there. Is that man at Pips again?
After banging, he gets a nosebleed. Miss Huang takes care of it. He flashes forward. They're not doing weird time travel or anything. It's just his memories are in and out.
We're getting the integration,
Yeah,
like,
he doesn't
sort of
have
sickness.
much reference with time anymore because, yeah, he's remembering things that he shouldn't remember.
It's just a nice film tactic to cut through some
Yeah,
bullshit.
don't read
as
too
well.
much into it. I already read some couple of time travel comments. I'm like, calm the fuck down.
Wow.
But yeah, so he gets very mad at Ragabi. Ragabi is interesting because she needs this more than she should. Like, she's not just taking down a company. She's like, we need to push, Mark. We can do this now. It seems like she has something more personal invested.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's a time trial, sort of like a ticking time bomb attached to her or not. But
Yes.
we kind of see her like sulking, eating ice cream on the couch. So.
Yeah, but she definitely wants this done, which makes me think that she has more of a personal connection rather than just she thinks this is wrong and she should take down Lumen. Like, she was fighting for it.
Yeah.
She cuts his head open, and we get the reverse of the intro shot.
Yeah, we get the hair reference there coming out.
And that is a big hole in the back of his head to just be covered up
mama.
by skin. And
Yeah, I was like, we're not going to even see her sew it. She just puts a little, like a Band-Aid essentially
Yes.
on it.
When he goes to work the next day and they're like, what's that there?
What's that pool of blood coming out from the back of your head there, buddy?
Why are you leaking? My wife hated that scene. She doesn't like operation stuff.
Yeah.
And this was done very viscerally.
And it's a long needle.
And
the longest boy you could get.
If any of you have ever had a operation on any part of your face, or I guess even a dental appointment where you can't feel what's going on, you can't see what's going on, but you can hear it, your skull is a big old echo chamber.
Yeah.
And they do it so well, and they've got some great Foley audio. Like, they've worked so hard on that audio to make it feel like it's in your skull. Watch this episode with headphones or like a good surround sound, and you will be like, oh, they're in the back of my head.
Yeah,
Lovely.
really? Okay, yeah,
it's
I don't
not
have
nice.
good
It's not friendly.
setup.
So before she cuts his head open, he goes to eat some food.
A succulent Chinese meal.
Yeah, it's just the whole reintegration sickness. He's getting really time confused, and
He's eating
he's
for
just
two.
overwhelmed. He's hungry. She's trying to keep pushing stuff, and he's like, he's eating for two. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Because, again, Mark is a snarky little bitch, even though earlier in the episode when he's like saying sorry to her because she's actually helping and he got to see his wife again.
Yeah, well, you would be moody. You're literally fiddling with your brain, so.
Yeah, he's going through a lot. And so he goes to eat at Zufu's. What a coincidence. Helena is here.
Dude, when she was doing her little bashful face of like, do I know you? Oh, I wanted to rip my eyeballs out.
It's so funny because they're underestimating him because they don't know he's reintegrating and that he's looking for his wife. So she's like trying to do the, I know part of you wants to fuck me. Like, I know you find me attractive and that we had this little, oh, you almost ran over me. But also, you know that I'm like the CEO.
Yeah.
And the whole time he's just like, you're evil. Like, I know you stole my wife. It's wonderful.
This scene was a lot of my brain being like, why is she there? Is she there because she just wants to have that connection?
Yep.
Has she been sent to check up on him because he had the nosebleed and they are so suspicious of people with nosebleeds?
I would wager she is trying her luck. She can't be an Innie anymore. Like, she can't fake hang out with him. Her only option is to maybe get that connection. And it's a what?
Dick 2 bomb. She's
two
like,
bomb?
I can't live without that. Gotta get it back.
She really liked it.
Yeah.
I think she just wants that connection, and
Yeah.
this is her only hope. And she has what she thinks is at least an avenue, which is just wanted to check in after the OTC. Also, she said the other night, and it made me remember how short this timeline is.
It's like a week, like maybe a week and a half. 2 weeks?
Yes, yeah. Two weeks tops kind of deal since OTC, the weekend, and then
Which
the
is
next weekend would have been the Outbo, and then this is like maybe the next Friday.
Yeah.
Like, crazy.
Yeah. It's an interesting scene with Helena. Like, seeing her be able to have that banter, it
Yes.
does make me more suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Well, yes, it's whether she's been going to acting classes, like she's been practicing on her driver that was like sitting out the front of the car. Because obviously it's not a coincidence. The CEO does not go get Chinese food.
No,
And also she doesn't order anything.
She wouldn't have any sort of preservatives or anything. She would have the most bland, oh, where's my boiled chicken and rice, please?
Yeah, it would have to be Kia allowed. This scene showed up in the trailer, like them leaving, I believe. And there was speculation that this was her coming to say, hey, our Innies had sex. You're going to be a father. I'm pregnant.
Oh.
But obviously that never happened.
No.
If the restaurant does mean father, maybe that's what we're alluding to. Or they wanted to go with like the FU as in like, fire it up!
Yeah, but again, we don't know how many things have been red herrings, you know?
Yes, it's very interesting to see how she does things. Because obviously she thinks she's doing very well. And realistically, she is doing pretty well. Like, they both have a good banter. There's a reason their Innies are getting together.
Yeah.
Like, they have chemistry, whether you like it or not.
I know. I know. I'm accepting it.
And then he starts to cotton on as soon as she brings up Gemma.
She says Hannah.
Yes, whether that was, I don't
rude.
think that was intentional either. I think she's just like, yeah.
She's that careless. She doesn't care about his personal life. She wants a bang.
She doesn't plan far enough ahead because she said night gardener. Like,
yeah, she's spontaneous, like a erratic person who's just like going on whims and being like, no, but I'm super important and wealthy. I should know what I'm doing.
Yeah, she's never had to
You
try.
don't.
It's very much like, Nepo baby. She
Yeah.
thinks she's the best. Obviously, isn't that good? Then you talk about Gemma. You can see him slowly cotton on. Also, he's freaking out because he's reintegrating.
Yeah.
And he's just not enjoying it, but it lights a fire under him as a big FU, which is maybe why he leaves and walks past the fuck you. Like, maybe that's all it is.
Maybe.
This lit the fire under him because he gets home to Ragabi and he's like, let's fucking go.
Yeah, put your finger in my
Let's
brain.
flood the chip.
Flood the chip.
Flood the chip with chemicals. It does
Mystery
something.
fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows?
Science. They wanted to stick a giant fucking needle in this man's head, and that's why they did it.
Yeah, which just feels like maybe you don't want that much fluid in your head. I don't know.
Well, like, if he leans back, does it leak out? And then he starts to immediately reintegrate way quicker. And she's like, please stop moving your head quickly. Which he responds with by headbutting the floor. Because Devon comes
running
over.
Running upstairs.
I get why he hasn't told Devon because he thinks it's dangerous. He thinks Lumon's everywhere. They could be listening.
I feel like it would make more sense him not telling her if he was starting to be suspicious of Rick and the people that think that Rickon maybe is someone who can't be trusted. But I think of everything we've seen of their relationship, I feel like he would trust her and tell her, like, you need at least one person on your side.
I wager protection / Ragabi said you can't tell anyone.
Yeah.
But obviously she's in the fray now. So she's going to learn because she was there.
Yeah.
I love the cut of he's standing there with a glass of water and she's like, so is it working? And he's like, no, I'm trying something different. Turns around and he's just covered in, he's just wet.
He looks so bad. Like, he looks like a minute from death.
Yeah.
And she's like, you feeling better? Yeah, man.
Well, he did say he was sick, but yeah, he's just like profusely sweating. There's blood coming out the back of his head,
Like,
probably.
the dark circles are almost to his chin. Like, it's insane.
Oh, it's so good. And then, headbutts the floor. Ragabi comes out and she's like, shit.
Yeah.
Not good. I can assume not good. He's frothing at the mouth, I think.
Yeah, I took it as a seizure. Brain is not having a fun time.
He says, what's that smell? Which, I know you smell toast when
Stroke.
you're having a stroke, right?
Yeah,
So-
burnt toast or something.
Yeah. It's not a big theory episode, which is going to leave a lot of the theory channels like grasping for straws and they're just like finding anything they can. You do get like a couple of things. If you're a pauser, if you like to pause on like Irving's like research, so like if you want to pause on that, there's stuff in there.
Yeah.
But realistically, it's very character, very what is Severance, which we haven't had since season 1.
Yeah, we're getting more like, we're moving away from the outline of the puzzle. Going back to my hobbies. We're filling it out a little bit. There's still a lot missing.
I think we even spoke about that in an early episode, or it was yours and Steven's solo one, where we wanted to get more into what Severance is, as far as like how you deal with that mentally, because you do just turn off every day, and they don't really deal with it because everything else is going on.
Yeah.
So like it's interesting to look at it from like a culty, emotional aspect, and this episode is fantastic.
It's always fantastic. The writing is always super good. Like,
It's banger after
the
banger.
amount you can pull out of the episode, whether it be intentional or not. Insane.
Again, the only downside is waiting a week. A week is too long. I think whoever invented that, probably Julius Caesar, I think he fucked up with the whole weekly thing, because 4 days? Maybe that'd be good. That gives me enough time to theorize.
Release 2 episodes a week.
No. I don't want just more. I want it more often. I do like the theory crafting, but I don't need a week of that. After like 2 or 3 days, I think I've soaked up all the information. I'm ready for the next one. I'm just
a weekday and a weekend.
Yes.
Weekend.
Yeah, this is just me blaming like Julius Caesar or the Gregorian calendar for being shit.
They kept cutting back to how absolutely no one was doing any work at all.
No one's doing anything. Everyone has a hall pass. Miss Huang was in charge of the floor, seemingly doing nothing, but also maybe gloating to herself in like a back room, being like, "You're so good at what you do." Everyone was doing something that wasn't work, which also they've put themselves really close to finishing Cold Harbor at like 87% or whatever up to. So if Mark did do too much work, he would probably finish. So we need Tim do other things, but it's also showing how Lumon's like semi-falling apart in their own house. Like they can't even monitor. Like they're the most important thing in the world is Mark does this, but every single person has something else going on that
it's
they're
the like
too
internal
busy.
restructuring and stuff that can make things crumble.
Everyone's too self-obsessed that the mysterious and important work gets left by the wayside.
Who do you think set up Drummond to search Irv's place? Do you think it was Bert or do you think it was Fields?
That's the most theory thing I can pull from this episode is what did Bert do at Lumon 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Did he invent Severance or did he kill a man? Like, so he regrets something and he's going to hell for a reason.
Great episode, 11 out of 10, -1, just a normal 10 out of 10 because again we have a sex scene.
Not just a sex scene, a Helly sex scene.
A Helly sex scene.
Hell in a sex scene.
Get that bitch off my screen.
Get that bitch off my boy.